Welcome to the service, everybody. I hope we're streaming in okay. Sorry for the delay. Wow, it's 1:46, so we're exactly 30 minutes. We're on the minute, so it is like an 11:11. But thanks for coming. Let me know if you can say anything over there. Would really appreciate it if we can get a comment in, and you can let me know if you can hear me okay, if you can see me okay. Let me just pull up my screen. What's up, everyone? Wow, what a tumultuous, oh my goodness. I'm just going to send a link to our very special guest. He's an incredible yoga teacher. He is, let me tell you, this man. Oh, there we go. We got a viewer. Send us a message if you can, if you can hear me okay, and if you can hear the music okay. Let me know if you can hear the music. If not, we're going to have to go sans music. But let me know if you can see me okay. Let me know if you can see the opening graphics okay. Got a very powerful service for the community. Got a great, powerful guru coming in. A very powerful guru coming in, and he's going to be teaching us some of the ways of yoga. You'll see in his righteousness, in his listen, this guy, we talk about a lot of cult leaders, a lot of scams, a lot of fake gurus, whatever. This man could start a cult like this. This man could start a cult like this. Rewind, Cat, I just put the music on. Can you hear the music now? Love you guys. John Bond, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Can you guys hear the music? Or is it going to have to be a no music? We're coming in from StreamYard today. We're streaming in from StreamYard because, listen, Kali Yuga, it is a great suffering. And even when you're embarking on great karmas like this, like what we're doing today, even sometimes, Kali Yuga gets the best of you and that's it. You're stuck. You're out here trying to get your OBS started, OBS shutting down. What a suffering. What a great suffering. And when trying to do such good karmas, that's what really hurts my feelings. That when trying to do such great karmas, and you guys get the music. Okay, great. Thanks for coming in, everyone. We had Justin Consciousness. We had like 4 or 5 other people here. Let's give them a minute to come back. And our special guest is going to be here any minute now. And like I said, the man is extremely powerful. He could start a cult in a second. He's been teaching yoga. And these yoga classes, if any of you have seen the Bikram yoga, Yogi Guru Predator movie, you can see that it's a ripe environment. It's a ripe environment to get people in there to take advantage and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to text him real quick. Yeah. But yeah, John Bond is here. Rewind Cat is here. I know Justin Consciousness Gwyn. He was here in spirit. If he can return, I hope to see him too. Anne Marie is here. Anne Marie, welcome to the service, Anne Marie. Anne Marie has taken my meditation class, and that's very powerful. So that's good. Thanks for coming. Yeah, like I said, we got some great topics today. Some great stuff to talk about. Before he gets here, actually, I should mention next week I am teaching a meditation class. I'm doing a joint congregation, actually, with the Portland Psychedelic Society. That's right. Your Guruji's vibration is so high. They said, please, Guruji, teach with us. Teach with the Portland Psychedelic Society. And here they are. And I think my class, look at all these classes they have. Loving Kindness Meditation, A Psychedelic Journey to Infinity and Back. This is going to be next week, Wednesday. In these holiday times, let me tell you something. During the holiday times, let me tell you something. You're going to want some loving kindness. You want to practice a little bit of self-love. And make sure you love yourself around these times, because even though on the surface, Christmas seems like such a happy, joyful time, and I'm not trying to scaremonger you here. It seems like such a happy, joyful, loving time. It is the time of highest depression too. You know what I mean? It's the time of highest suffering as well. So this is a perfect time to get your self-love on, practice some loving kindness meditation. We got a powerful group. We got a powerful group coming in every month with the Portland Psychedelic Society. Their vibration joins with my vibration. It raises it even more. It adds the credibility. And, yeah, so that class is going to be next week. Just to prep for our guest today, actually, real quick, why don't we play a little clip of this video? I don't know if you guys have seen this. This man is quite the guru. Quite the guru, G. How does that look? Let's take a look at it. I'm going to kill the music. This guy's doing...
Beverly Hills. There's a yoga college of India, and the man who runs it is Yogi Bikram.
Oh, God, look at that.
College of India, and the man who runs it is Yogi Bikram.
Look at that, baby. That Speedo is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? That is a lot. It's a lot, and but it's beautiful at the same time. I mean, I love that. I love the 70s era. I love that time, you know, when people were just rocking it out like that. It kind of, you know, as a man, sometimes you want to go back to those times. My buddy, actually, I just went to a spiritual EDM party, as I do, as Gurujis do, as spiritual teachers do. I was just at a, he's jacked though. He is jacked. You got to give him that. But I was just at a spiritual like EDM party. It was amazing. And my buddy, he's so jacked that now he started wearing Speedo and he got a negligee at the thing. And it was like, oh my God, it should be in my Instagram. The negligee, because he's black, and then ripped. And then he got this negligee, this like sachet kind of negligee that he just put over top. So it's just Speedo. That I was like, dude, you look like the richest rapper. You look like a guy who, like, you look like you could just put on some gold teeth and people would be like, yeah, you could get in a car and it's got spinner rims and you could just rip it and it would be like, yep, that's him. That's the guy. Beautiful, this guy, right? Anyway, we're at this EDM party. We're jamming out. We're rocking it. And P. Morton says, that's a little Japanese girl bottom. He looked like he looked like a power bottom. Oh, buddy, he looked like a power. That's like a little Japanese girl bikini bottom. P. Morton looked like a power bottom. Let me tell you something, P. Morton. This is the ultimate power move. This is the power top move. This guy is not a power bottom. I don't know if you guys have seen the documentary. Not a bottom. But I will say this. My buddy, he suffered from this because we were at this spiritual EDM party. He comes in with this. Good bulge, good package. And then then he buys the negligee, like 150, 200 bucks, and puts on this negligee, see-through, but like brown, dark, like brown and white design, like just swirly, whatever. Incredible, sexy. But we go out, we're dancing because it was a beach party, Promise Cherry Beach, amazing dance parties these guys throw. And we're dancing, we're hanging out, whatever. Who picks up? Me. Because so like I started talking to this girl before he got there. I was talking to her a little longer, right? He shows up. I'm like, you know what? This guy's jacked. He's gonna take it, right? The girl, then my buddy, like an hour later, he was like so proud that he got the negligee and the Speedo. So proud of himself. An hour into the party, he goes, everyone thinks I'm gay. He goes, yeah, I don't know. I'm like an hour into the party. I'm like, I'm having such a good time. I'm going crazy. I'm ripping it. I'm like, hey man, how you doing? He's like, everyone thinks I'm gay. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You go for it. You went for it. You ripped it. And then sometimes, you gotta, because he's hitting on all these girls and they're like it was such a waste of time because they're kind of hitting on him back and he's getting excited. And then at the end, it's just like, oh, you're such a silly guy that I could just hang out with and nothing would happen. What an insult. Why ever would they think that? I know, right, P. Morton? I know. It happens. Listen, the guy made a powerful move. It was a powerful, beautiful move. And sometimes that backfires, Sometimes that backfires. But today, man, I almost thought we weren't going to make it. But I'm here, and I think Guruji's going to be here in just a second. Guests can stream this onto their own destinations. Wow. Okay. Let's see if he's... My name is Amish Patel, and this is Funky Rider by Noir A. Blanc V from the YouTube Creator Library. And today we got a guest so powerful. Let me tell you something. He could start a cult in 1 second. And he's got a very powerful yoga institute that he's teaching from. His name is Baron Baptiste, best-selling author. Look at this. This is the book, Journey into Power by Baron Baptiste. Self magazine says a spiritual master driving the yoga revolution. And Vogue magazine says one of America's all-star trainers. He's going to be with us in just a minute. But in the meantime, let's watch more of this Bikram yoga documentary trailer just to get us ready for what, you know. Look at that. This guy kills it. Look at that, dude. See, none of this. That's how one of the ways you know you got a good teacher is they're not doing these model, these, you know, this gets to a lot, right? Like you're teaching yoga, do the pose. You know, get a picture of you in a pose, maybe. That's righteous. I feel like when you start getting in front of these, you know, big cars,
people would say, what's he like? And I would say, he sees himself as a cross between Mother Teresa and Howard Stern.
He was a teacher who was going to make me perfect.
He saw potential in you that you might not see.
nice. This is
brains.
How could smart women endure weeks with this guy?
That's sign number one. That's sign number one. I think Bikram had maybe a similar issue as my buddy, though, where these women, like, he's like, they're all following him, they're all into him. And then when he tries to sleep with them, they're like, what? But you're, oh my God. He don't need no pose. He's got a rolls.
I'd seen flashes of megalomania, but I didn't know how diabolical he actually was. He kept telling me
This song. Did he sing the song? Don't look so sad. Dude, what's this song? We gotta see. I gotta see if this is a real. Let's see. Bikram sings. Okay. Let's see. Let's see a little bit of Bikram sings. No. Okay, well, let's.
that he wanted to make me famous and that I just had to stay close with him.
That's why I am here.
Oh, that's him. That's why I am here. Don't feel sad.
Make me famous. And
Don't look so sad.
he kept
Don't
telling me
look so sad.
that he wanted to, and that I just had to stay close with him.
That's why I am here.
That's why I am here. What? I forgot about
Bikram called me out of class and into his office, and he said, what are we going to do about us? Should we make this a relationship?
Can you chill, dude? Like, this girl is too much. Like, you know, at some point you got to be like, someone's out of my league here a little bit. What is this girl? This lady, I should say. Sorry. So hot.
And it was just like, oh my God. I don't want to say that I was brainwashed, but that's what was happening.
There was a camp that was going to hang him by his nails.
Now, dude, this hat.
That I was brainwashed, but that's what was.
Oh my God. If I do this, I've been watching a lot of Stavros Halkias videos where he's bald, but he grows the back out. Can I do that? Is it righteous? Tell me what you guys, I don't know if I can do this hair out the back thing, but I don't know. Stavros is doing it. Stavros does this and he's pulling it off. No hat though. I like the no hat on that, on Stavros.
There was a camp that was going to hang him by his nails. And there was a camp that was saying these girls asked for it.
It was really hard because I wouldn't be the person who I am today without him.
The young women who want to believe in something so badly, those are the people that he targets.
A lot of people tell a lot of stories, and that becomes their truth.
I'm happy he's still teaching class.
You are not intelligent, wise, experienced enough to understand who I am. It's not over.
It's not over. That's how I felt this morning when I tried to start streaming and we got these some OBS crashed on me. But let's take that off and let's bring a real guru into the show right now. We have a very powerful guest today, everyone. He's taught me yoga. I do the tech for his online yoga class. And I've studied yoga with it. So I've basically studied yoga. You know, I've gotten to study yoga basically over the last year, 2 years. I can do the full thing. I hope he doesn't pop quiz me or anything, but I definitely got the flow. I got the flow down. I'm certified. But look, we've talked about a lot of cult leaders, a lot of spiritual gurus on the show that have led people astray. But today's guest is so righteous. And let me tell you, he has the following. Best-selling author of Journey into Power. He has the following. Self Magazine calls him a spiritual master driving the yoga revolution. Vogue Magazine says he's one of America's all-star trainers. So, like I said, we got a very powerful guest. He is the head and founder of Baptiste Institute. He's here for the community today, and we're going to talk about how to avoid some of these other, some of the fake gurus, which I know that a lot of you have fallen prey to, quite frankly. I know that a lot of you have sent me emails saying, Amish, I got a guy, this guy's legit. You know, he's just asking for $5,000. Amish, can you, come on, you tell me something. It's people I know in real life, they always fall for it. And so I always it's always great to meet a real spiritual teacher, someone who has integrity and who's good like that. And like I said, if this man, I've seen the email following, I've seen the teachings. If he wanted to start a cult, bang, tomorrow he's got a cult. Still, he does not do it. That is the level of righteousness. And, you know, he's here for us today to impart some of his wisdom for the congregation. Let's welcome the very powerful Baron Baptiste, everybody. Hello.
Niche. Wow. What an opening I got there. Dang.
Thank you.
That's a lot to live up to.
It's not good to just bring you on right after the Bikram. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to associate you with that.
Yeah. I didn't see it. I came on, I saw the very tail end of that. I saw that Netflix thing on Bikram. And, but you know, firstly, let me just back up on one thing you said. So you called me a guru and totally fine. Nothing about it. But I've always not liked that term. I never liked it when people called me a guru because I don't see myself as that. Well, and it's probably different even for me personally, because I grew up, my father was a guru of sorts.
Yeah.
And, you know, my parents would take my sisters and I to India and we'd do these like pilgrimages and spend times in different ashrams around different gurus. And, you know, even as a kid, I think the first time I went, I was probably around 8 or 9 years old. And I still have these like little memories of like being in these ashrams with the guru up there, you know, in the orange robe. And then you kind of see all these glazed-eyed devotees, you know, completely like intoxicated, being in the presence of their guru. And I remember being like 8, 9, 10 years old and kind of rolling my eyes at that. And luckily, you know, I had a dad. My dad was so he appreciated Eastern teachings. He appreciated a lot of these teachers and gurus, but he always kind of gave me a red flag thing where he's like, he would point out things about not getting too caught up with people, not getting too caught up with, don't put anyone above you. He taught me, he's always like, don't put don't put yourself above people, and don't put yourself below anyone. So it was like, I kind of learned, and just for myself, just as a kid, an American young kid, I didn't even want to go to India. I just wanted to stay at home and hang out with my little friends.
Wow,
and do normal kid things. But I would go along kind of begrudgingly, but I remember just always like rolling my eyes at that kind of, that intoxication that people, and it's not to judge anyone, because look, to each their own, and we all have to find our own journey, right? But I think that there's something about, for me, I was like, I actually never want to be a guru. Yeah. I don't want to be, as I grew up, and partly I didn't really ever want to teach yoga or get into that realm, because again, my parents were in that realm, and I was like, I don't want to be anybody's leader. I want to figure out how to lead myself. Yeah. And so I kind of learned, like, well, how do I take maybe the beneficial aspects of these different teachings and from different teachers? How do I kind of extract the practical things that could help me just live my life in better ways, without drinking the whole package in, so to speak?
Well, that's what makes you such a good guru, is that you don't want to be, it's like they say in politics, like the only person that's good enough, that would be good to be president, is someone who says, I don't want to be president. It's like, that's the only, anyone who wants to do it is going to be a psycho.
Yeah. Watch out for those, the wolves in cheap clothing kind of thing. Yeah. No, I've always been like, I think people, do have this deep drive most people have this deep drive to grow, to better themselves, maybe some kind of spiritual longing. And so it's like, but if you don't have that harnessed at some level and you just follow that, then the first strong presence that comes into your life that has a lofty, flowery message of, spiritual powers and, all those things they teach, it's like you can get caught up in that pretty easy, I think, if you don't have your feet on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, but you've been teaching for a long time. You've been in the game like for a while.
Yeah.
I don't want to age you, but like, what were you around for this Bikram, like when he came out, or was it just kind of like, was he big? Like, where were you in the game when he was? And I don't mean the documentary. I mean like when everyone was like, Bikram, like. That must have
no, I knew Bikram. I studied with Bikram in the 80s. So I was probably around 20 years old, I think. And I had just moved to Los Angeles, and I was going to college. I was pretty lost. I was looking for what's next. I was going to college for journalism, and I was working in talk radio. Like in LA is like the largest radio market in the country, if not the world. And so I was working in radio. I was kind of pursuing this trajectory of journalism, radio, media. And then I was a trainer. I was doing, in Beverly Hills, I was a personal trainer. So I was working with, different Hollywood people.
And your dad was like a bodybuilder,
celebrities. And my dad was an early Mr. America. Amazing. Back in like the 1940s. And somehow, I don't remember how I found Bikram, but I went to a class right there in Beverly Hills. It was actually one block down from where I was a personal trainer. I was a personal trainer at this club at the time called Beverly Hills Health Club. And then I started going down. Took a class with Bikram, and he was teaching all the class. He and his wife were teaching all the classes back then. And I would go, and I loved it. Because I was an athlete. I grew up surfing. I was a black belt in Taekwondo and Hapkido. I was a competitive martial artist. I actually won a California state championship when I was like 17, I think, competing in martial arts. And then so I had this athletic background. And so when I went to this Bikram's like very physical. So, and you sweat and all that. So I was like, oh, I like this. It was a good compliment to other things I was doing. So I started going. I just go to Bikram's classes often, and then and pretty consistently.
Wow.
And then
you really trained with him.
What's that?
He kind of got you into it.
Well, my parents got me into yoga.
Right.
They were the first, but my parents there was the physical culture side of it, but they were also very much into the spiritual side. My dad was like a spiritual guru of sorts. And, and very into health food. They had a health food restaurant growing up, health food store. I kind of worked around all that growing up. And, but by the time I found Bikram, I was already like not, I wasn't looking for a guru. Yeah. I was, so Bikram, so I'll tell you something interesting. So one of my clients at one point was Shirley MacLaine, the actress. Are you too young to know who she is? You probably know.
No, I'm saying, but you know what? Now I got to look her up.
Back in I was a kid too when she was, I don't know, she probably won Academy Awards. Familiar. She was a big actress. So and you know who Cher is? Cher is another actress, singer. Mm-hmm. And I guess Shirley MacLaine told me, she's like, one of the biggest regrets in my life. Yeah, that's Shirley MacLaine, exactly. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if she's still alive, but so this is going back into the 80s, very early 90s, maybe.
Yeah.
And I was working privately with some of these people, and then but one thing she said, she goes, so Shirley MacLaine and Cher brought Bikram from India to the US.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were these big Hollywood celebrities, and they went over to India. I don't know. I don't remember the details of how they found Bikram, but Shirley MacLaine said one of the biggest regrets in her life was bringing Bikram from India to the US. And, he landed right there. Because they were big Hollywood celebrities, they brought him right into Hollywood, Beverly Hills, that whole world. And she said, because when she found him in India, she said he was just like this pure spirit, pure hearted guy, untainted. He didn't have all the, there's no money. He just taught this physical yoga practice that he, I think, learned from his teacher. And then she said, but when her biggest regret was bringing him over because she saw what it did to him, like the attention and then the money and the fame and all that just went to his head. And she said that wasn't the same person that she brought. She brought this innocent young guy.
LA does this. I've heard LA does this.
LA, man, will taint people quick, man. It turns them out. It's a dangerous place if you aren't smart again, right? So, and I don't think Bikram was smart in that sense. I think maybe he grew up, I don't really know his background, but I think my sense is he grew up in poverty and all that. So being suddenly planted right in Beverly Hills and getting popular pretty quick and with such powerful kind of influential
America,
people.
Like it's got to get, it's going to go to your head. Yeah. It's just going to go to your head.
Mm-hmm.
India,
And then, so when I was going to his classes in the 80s, I didn't ever really get too close to it all, but he just seemed like, he was very motivational, and he was like, you take his class and he'd be talking a lot of it was just like, he's talking about dumb stuff, but, and he's like insulting people and stuff, but it wasn't off the charts weird. And then, but I think, and I was just around there for about a year and a half. And then I moved on. I went and did my own thing, moved to Paris for like a year and just did my own thing. And then I came back to LA and started teaching my own classes, but I didn't really go back to him. But the Bikram, like in that film, isn't the same Bikram that I knew back in the, how many years later is that? Like 30 years later or something. I think a lot transpired.
Yeah. So like you never saw this, was he doing this Speedo back then? Because was it normal? Was it normal?
Yeah, that's what he wore. That's what he wore. He would sit up on his chair in the front of the classroom.
Yeah.
And in those days, there'd be like 10 to 20 people in a class. It was before he was really discovered like nationally. Yoga wasn't popular back then nationally or anything. It was more just an LA thing. It hadn't even really grown into New York yoga. as a thing. I think what happens in the fitness industry in general, and I learned this back then from being in the fitness industry originally, it's like things get popular in LA, like a fitness trend gets popular in LA, then New York catches on to it. And then once you have New York on, then it starts bleeding out into the middle of America, all the places between LA and New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
But back then it was like, nobody really knew him. I mean, I think what maybe brought him onto the, like attention media, like national attention was when Raquel Welch came out with, do you remember who she is? Raquel Welch?
I remember Raquel. I do remember.
She's like
Raquel.
A popular actress again back there. I mean, I was a kid when all these people were famous, but Raquel Welch was like a actress, beauty queen. I ended up working with Raquel Welch. She left Bikram too. And after I had my stint there, I started working. Actually, I worked with Raquel. I'd go to her house every morning, 5 mornings a week.
Wow.
We'd go through a yoga practice, and then I veered out. I was studying. I mean, I had my foundation was more what I learned from my parents growing up, was really kind of, and still is probably my foundation. But I studied was just, I like going around. I never got too caught up with any one teacher or anything like that, but I just kind of learned, like, again, extract the things that were working for me.
Yeah.
And then, so I'd studied with other teachers like Iyengar, who I was introduced younger too, around my family in San Francisco. I was introduced to BKS Iyengar, who's another like famous, hatha yoga, like teaches the physical poses, physical practice. Yeah. So I studied with Iyengar, became more of my Bikram was like a little stint, and it was a side thing, but what spoke to me on the physical practice was more of like what Iyengar was teaching. It's more refined, more alignment, more, just like potent principles. Where Bikram, you just go in, you go through the motions, you sweat. But what I liked about Iyengar, it had like an integrity about it, that practice. Okay. So, but I liked some of the elements of Bikram. And then I studied also the Ashtanga system a bit with some of these senior like Ashtanga teachers and Ashtanga is like flow yoga, and it's a sequence of poses that are more in that what's called vinyasa flow. So I like the flow. I like some of the heat elements of Bikram. I like the balancing poses in Bikram. I liked really the Iyengar principles became like my true north in the practice. And that's kind of how was born and what I teach. Now, what you went through, your training at level 1 with me was that true north alignment. That's like kind of born out of Iyengar principles. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like the physical might keep it more grounded. Like, I find with your teachings, like there's a little bit of meditation, but it doesn't go too far into like the secret or manifestation. Like, do you have a line with that? Do you feel like, okay, this is like, these guys are getting too kooky? Is that what you meant by that?
Yeah, I think that, one of the blessings of growing up around, like in San Francisco, around like new agey stuff. My mom was pretty new agey, so she would take me to these different new age workshops and crystals and all that. And I was rolling my eyes most of the time. Wow. But I think with that, and then seeing, my father, and then being a spiritual teacher, and then going to India and like all these different things, I think it made me realize I didn't relate to the fluff, the new age fluff stuff. And again, no judgment for people. If you're into that, that's your jam.
Well, it's almost like you're not
for me though, that was a dark hole. Like,
like you're rebelling. Like
those things didn't get me anywhere. Yeah. And it was like, it kind of creates this like false belief systems into something. Yeah. I don't think I've actually watched The Secret. You're talking about that television show or whatever. I don't think I've ever seen it. I've seen little clips of it, like little 2-minute like clips on social or YouTube or something. I never watched the whole film. I was not attracted. It's all about law of attraction.
Yeah. You were not.
I was not attracted to that whole spiel, because to me, it's like, again, I just have like a barometer, like a bullshit meter. And I think for me, and look, I don't know that it's all bullshit that they teach on there. I'm not saying that, but it reminds me too much of what I learned growing up, learned that not for me. So I like more real, concrete, feet on the ground, being present, like being present in your body, being present in the moment. living true, and then having vision for your life, vision and purpose. And I think out of that there is a natural attraction, right? You attract good people when you're up to good things. You attract creative people when you're being creative, you like attracts like. So I think there is that kind of, but I think the way they teach it, isn't it more you can just sit at home and visualize and then manifest being a millionaire or billionaire?
Law of attraction, it attracts a lot of sheep. It attracts people who maybe are too scared to go to work or to go for something. So they're like, oh no, I'm reading this thing. It's so good. It just says I got to think about it. But they do that. Like, you think it's a bad stereotype until you watch it. And then when you watch the movie, it is like all these teachers. One of them actually ended up being a cult leader himself. He went to jail for like a couple of years.
What's his name?
I forgot his name. We we reviewed him and everything. Actually, he did like a heat.
Oh, that guy, the Sweat Lodge guy, and some people died.
Two people died, and he just drove off like they were dead, and he's just like, they were like, Babaji, what do we do? And he's like,
he like bailed.
He just drove out of there.
Yeah, I remember seeing that guy. Yeah.
He's
I don't remember
trying
his
to make
name
a comeback
either,
right now.
What's that?
He's trying to make a comeback right now. He's trying to get big on YouTube again and stuff like that. But
really? Good luck with that. I mean, with that
jail.
history, it's a tough. I don't know anything about the guy, but yeah.
But
I'd move on. I would just become an accountant or do something.
No. He's trying. It's not hitting yet, but he's just like, I saw him on some documentary, and he's like, I don't know, I just can't get my meetings again. Me and Oprah, I did Oprah. She's not answering the calls. She all these people that he worked with, but after two people die, it's like, that's it.
No, I think that's an example of living in with deception. And then if you're a teacher living in your own deception, I mean, you can't give what you don't have, right? So it's like it breeds that. And then when shit hits the fan, things go awry, like it's like you're checked out. You're not there.
Yeah. So you must have seen people over the years that, because this is one of the hardest things for me, is that when I have a family friend or a cousin or a friend, whatever, and they're caught up in a guru or a get rich quick scheme, I can't talk them out of it. It's like,
they're hypnotized. They're hypnotized.
Yeah.
They're hypnotized, right? In a sense. I mean, one way to look at, they're under a spell.
They are under a spell. Like, some of these people are so charismatic, and it's like they got you.
Yeah. And well, I think that's a naive way to live life. You're naive, when you're, and you just don't, again, I think for me as a kid, being able to kind of distinguish some of those things out helped me in my life. But I think people that are subject, like, they're naive and well-intended. And sometimes those leaders are well-intended. But I think if you're naive and then if you're, there's something about hypnosis, like hypnotists, if you ever seen those stage shows or whatever, where they hypnotize people.
Yeah.
Not everyone is I don't know if this is a word, hypnotizable. Like, not everybody can be hypnotized. So they have to get certain people out of the crowd that are suggestible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And then so they bring those people up on stage, and they're like, okay, put your left shoe on your right foot and put your right, shoe on your left foot. And I walk up and down the stage, and doesn't that feel natural? It feels totally natural. Right. And they're like, oh yeah, it feels totally natural. And they're in this hypnotized state. Right. And it's like, eat this carrot, eat it with your nose, and they'll like put it in their nose and like, oh yeah, doesn't that feel normal? The hypnotist, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just eating. What are you doing? I'm just eating a carrot. Yeah, it's my nose. It's normal.
Yeah.
But I think but they can't. Those hypnotists can't do that to all the people in the audience, because not everyone in the audience is kind of already living hypnotically or so suggestible.
Right.
Like the propaganda phenomenon, like media just feeds propaganda, or like a Goebbels thing. They're feeding people propaganda. And then I think not everybody buys into the propaganda. But if you're totally suggestible and naive, and it's like, and it's kind of camouflage and being a good person, you're being, compassionate to, I don't know, whatever, these against being all these oppressors and the oppressed. And then so you buy into things, and you're like, oh yeah, this is normal, but you're not really thinking for yourself. Does that make sense? Yeah,
totally. I mean, I saw the great thing with a psychic. One of the psychic moves is they're in front of a crowd, and people are just like, how do they do it? but they're in front of a crowd and they say, I'm getting a sign of someone with a JG name. They're calling from the dead. And you have 10, 20 people, like 3 of them are like, oh my God. It's like they start reacting, crying. It's like, yeah, you're the one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's like
it goes like that.
Yeah.
And then there are other people in that audience that aren't gullible like that, or not just naive.
Yeah.
They're kind of more like skeptical even, like I like I'm skeptical. I think skeptical is healthy.
Totally. With the I find magic. It's like, and the thing is, I do believe in it. Like I am getting into this kind of love and light philosophy, but the danger of it is that then you start thinking like, okay, so now I can will something into existence, or I can manifest this thing, or like things are just going to come.
Have you been able to do that?
I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
Because if the
but you know what they would probably tell you is that, well, you don't believe hard enough or believe enough. Right? Yeah. That's why it's not possible.
Yeah. Your negativity.
And then that becomes the impossible puzzle that a lot of gurus put on. They impose this impossible puzzle of enlightenment, right? In this path, this impossible complex puzzle that you have to figure out if you want to become enlightened. But that's how that's how people get trapped in that and grabbed in that, right? It's like, but it's like someone looking in from the outside. It's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's like, wait, because if I'm not so suggestible or not like already living my life kind of in a hypnotized state in a sense. Yeah. People can go to different situations, whether it's with a guru or maybe even with their family, starting at home, or different environments. And if they're already kind of wired up to be naive like that, and even naive about intentions of people, then they're manipulatable. And then they find themselves in a situation.
So
they can't see they can't see the forest from the trees.
Yeah. It's like, it's impossible to talk people out of it. It's almost like just talking about it in general is the best thing to do, is because then people see it, because people do come on the show. Even like we saved one guy from a cult. He was in a success cult, also LA based, a success cult. And it was
LA, man.
Silicon Valley.
It turns them out, right?
Yeah. Health stuff. It's huge. India's wild too. Like I still haven't tapped into like the gurus coming out of India, but they're on another level. They're actually gangsters. Like they really are. Like they have guns too.
They're like mob bosses, right? And they I think there's something about Indians that have an intellectual genius, like it's next level IQ. I don't know what it is, but it's pretty profound. The level of like just intellectual intelligence. And so they beam out just so big. And then they've got this aura or this, like vibrate, the charisma, and and it's all like, wow, it's so big and almost like otherworldly or something that it's like you can get
it is a high vibration
by that.
in a sense.
What's that?
It is a high vibration in a sense. Like even when Vikram walks into a class, like he's a showman. And it's like they are showmen. They put on a show, they get you swept up in the emotion, and they are kind of giving you something. But then there's like this sinister other side to it where they're taking everything.
Yeah, I think it's intent too, maybe, like whether it's conscious or not, but I think it's intent, because I don't think there's anything wrong with being a showman. I don't anyhow. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with charisma, and those are qualities that can be totally used for positive, but then they can totally be used for evil too. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your cancel culture video, because this is a big thing for me as a comedian. This was very relatable when I first saw it, and I do want to.
You do stand up? Is that what you do?
Yeah, I do stand up, and I do this, and then TV writing and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So it's been. I actually have something to tell you after we watch a bit of this, but I'll tell you what my experience has been so far.
Okay, cool.
This sort of thing.
They hide behind. They say the right things. They hide behind it. They camouflage their actions, their real agendas behind this camouflage of compassion.
This is from the Baron Baptiste podcast on YouTube. You can check it out. I think I put a link to it. Definitely, there's a link to the website in the comment section. But check out the channel. This is a great video, and I just want to play a short clip even forward in it.
Eve, that goodness becomes your poison. It becomes, it comes with a great cost to yourself. So to take a look at, what is driving polarization, if you look at online or just in America right now, people are so divided. But if you're looking at what is driving this polarization, a lot of it is these social justice warriors, these online clowns that spend their whole lives just sabotaging and ravaging the reputation of others.
I really didn't realize that this was hitting the yoga community like that. Like in comedy, it's a big thing. Like people are cutthroat. It's basically like what happens is the most cutthroat person just uses it, and then they're getting it. And the scary thing is it works well in comedy and in TV writing in general, because everyone is super liberal, they're super woke, whatever. So if you're willing, like, I'll give you an example of one thing that happened. I was in a writing room, and there's one person that had an idea, and then this white guy had an idea that was like a little bit, I don't think he was being negative necessarily, but he had like another idea that maybe contradicted a little bit. So then the first person, she says, that's male centric and it's white centric. So immediately
shut down right there, right? Yeah.
Shut down.
You're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a, yeah.
And I'm the only one who goes like, okay, but how is it? Like they all silence. And I'm the only other brown guy. And I'm like, okay, but how is it? How is it white centric, whatever? And she's like, the fact that you're asking that's offensive. And people, like just other people, I can't believe like people just turned on me. And when the person's not there, we'll all talk like, what a psycho. But you just can't compete with it. I mean,
well, dude,
other people being like, okay, no, you know what? We have to acknowledge that she's right. And we have to you just go along with it.
Yeah. Well, if you look, isn't that cultic kind of thought?
Totally.
And it's manipulative, right? It's designed to shut you down, to shut people in that moment. Because if you argue against it, well, right there, you're against the cult think, right? The group think. And then therefore you're a racist. You're a, what else did they say? It was like you're
male centric and white centric.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like,
it was like you asking and expecting me to explain it to you. That's offensive. So
I mean, to me, that's cult. That cult is like that. You just get shut down in that moment.
Yeah.
And it's like you either are in or you're out. And if you're out, you're out. Yeah.
So what do
you're
do
labeled?
You're like in this situation, I got we were talking about this later at another time, and we're just like, we'll hear about, like, this is probably 6 years ago, but I'll just be out with someone and we'll be talking. I'll be like, hey, did you hear what's her name's a showrunner now? And you're like, you just turn into like, you're just like, oh man, maybe I should told people they were white centric. Like, not that I could do it, but it's like, what do you do? Like, is this that big of an issue in yoga? Like, I mean, I feel like the media people are the ones who invented it a little bit and propagated it. I was surprised to hear that it's happening in yoga. I think I've seen some yoga teachers be called out for like, you're white, you shouldn't be teaching or whatever. Like, what kind of accusations have you heard? And what do you do? Like, are they killing it? Like comedy? Because in comedy, like, it works. It doesn't work in getting a real fan.
Yeah.
Like, their online followings are garbage, but they're within the industry. It's like, it's perfect because people are just shamed into submission kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, two things come to mind with your question is, firstly, I think it's everywhere in society now. Like you said, it's in comedy. It's over in yoga. It's in wellness. It's in politics. It's in corporate environment. It's kind of everywhere.
It is. Yeah.
And it's I think there's a bigger kind of messaging in the background, and it's a kind of propaganda again. And I think suggestible people buy into, whatever, but because it also is, like I said in that video, it's camouflage and being a good person. So I think it actually manipulates good people to think that, well, they're doing a good thing. So when they say, oh, well, you're white centric or male centric, that's, wrong and bad. And I'm being a good person because I'm calling it out. but I think that it's like this neutralizing. It's pulling everybody down rather than sharing of ideas. Because I think, Western culture, I mean, originally it's like free speech, right? It's like you can argue ideas, but you're allowed to have your ideas. 100%. You can disagree. You can, but that's like what you're bringing up is it's like it's designed to just shut people down and have people shrink back out of fear because you'll be called a racist or a male centric or white centric and then pretty soon, I was looking at suicide rates and the stats I saw early this morning, actually, were still just from 2021, but they like in the US, I think there's like, I forget the exact number, but it's something.
It's high among men right now. Like men are.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like, I think it's like, is it 135 suicides every day?
Oof.
And just about 65% of those are male.
Okay.
And then the higher percentage of those are white males.
Wow.
Which is interesting.
Most of America's white though.
Maybe that'd be why. I don't know. That was a statistic.
But definitely white men are being like harassed. I feel like they're being like they're just like there is this like you're not invited. Like we know guys that were incredible at film editors and they were just told straight up like we can't accept you into this college because you're white, a white man. Like they don't even hide it. I've been told in the industry too that like we're like you're working with this white guy, but like everyone's looking for this, right? Like people of color, women of color. Like you need to work with someone like that because they've officially said we're not going to work with a white guy, and just openly So I mean I don't know. I haven't heard of. I can see how that could hurt someone.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know all the why behind it. That makes sense what you're saying, and I think that there's generally, when people kind of turn to suicide, I mean, that's pretty much down and out. Like that, you can't shrink back any more than that, right?
Yeah.
And I think though it speaks to what's happening in society in a way. Like there's no way out. And it's not. I mean, the higher percentage is men, but let's even put women in there. The fact that suicide's happening, it's like people don't really see alternatives, and I think a lot of people are afraid. There's just so much fear right now, but. Maybe it's how they're living their own lives and what's going on in their own lives. But I also think society is pushing, people to shrink back, self-censor, shut up.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's more on the collective society, and then already probably stacked on top of what they're already dealing with in their lives, their own just personal challenges. Yeah. It's like, there's no help out there. In fact, out there is not safe. It's dangerous. My life's not working at all. And then people default to the worst. But my point is, I think it's everywhere. And then, the yoga world thing, I've always, for the most part, pretty early on, I just didn't really relate to the yoga world, the yoga industry, the more classical. It's like, it's pretty like left of center. And when I say left of center, I'm even just not even, I mean, politically, yes, probably, but I'm speaking more even just spiritually, like left of center, meaning more into the new agey stuff, a lot of kind of woo-woo stuff, woo-woo to me. And I've always been more like a centrist, like practical, like take the practical techniques of yoga. And that's where I created Baptiste yoga, is like a simple methodology. And it's like pretty, physical universe, like live in the physical universe. What do you want to like, how do you want your health to go, your mind to go, bring discipline to your physical and mental life, and live your best life, become the person you want to be, but not. So I've kind of separated myself out from the regular yoga world, so to speak, and that wellness world. Because there's a lot of weird stuff in there. Weird to me, anyhow.
Yeah. No, that's good.
And so I think cancel culture or critique, that's just arisen since the pandemic. I mean, I take a lot of heat for being a capitalist, first of all. Like, I get accused of being a capitalist because I made money off of yoga trainings, yoga you know,
Yeah, but you don't seem like that aggressive about the money. Like we've had get rich quick gurus on that are like, pay right now, put your credit card on the line, whatever. And it's like with yours, it seems more like you're.
Yeah, I've never been driven by money, but I've realized, you know, if I want to do the kind of work I want to do and contribute to people, I had to get good enough at business to make it all work. Like business is a container, but it's never, I'm not a business person at heart. Money's never been my driver.
Yeah.
But practical money. But then when people start attacking about, you know, I've been attacked for being a capitalist and all that. When I even hear that language, I'm like, well, that's textbook. That's textbook justice warrior.
Yeah.
It's like, kind of, what is it? Communist is like, money's bad. Okay. Well, people with money aren't the ones calling you a capitalist typically. It's maybe people that haven't been able to figure out their own life. So they call you greedy but they don't know me. Like they don't know me. But I actually realized through this and being attacked for being a capitalist, I'm like, yeah, I actually love capitalism. I think it works better than communism or a lot of these other alternatives. I think responsible capitalism, but so a lot of name calling that I've gotten, even I'm like, I'm tired of the same old names out of the same textbook, and they're all talking cult talk. Yeah. Crazy. They're in their own kind of woke cult or whatever it is, but yeah.
Well, that's so crazy how like when COVID hit, it was you know, and there, you know, I think we needed some more backlash on just what was coming from like the medical community, what was coming from like, you have to take the vaccine or you have to quarantine or whatever. I was always surprised that, like, you know, you think the yoga meditation people are all going to be these lefties. They were like pretty anti-vax. I met a lot of yoga people that were like, nope, my body, I cannot let it in. You know, they were into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it's like the medical system is there to, you know, if you have a pathology, you have a disease or an injury, or, you know, there's practical use for medicine. But do I want to just like inject my body or take on things that I don't even know what it is? Like, no. I mean, I've always been like that. You know, I was raised like that. My parents didn't vaccinate my sisters or I didn't have it. My first injection with a needle, I would think I was around 18 years old. And it was for travel. Going
anti-vax was like a left-wing thing for a bit, before COVID came out, I think.
Yeah.
And then they really pushed it. I feel like then the left, quote unquote, pushed it. But before that, they were it
became political, right? And big business, big money behind the whole drive. And then suddenly, all that. I'm like, whatever. But I mean, I'm not changing the way I live. I didn't buy into it. I'm like, if you want to go get vaccinated, go do it. You know, live and let live. But I've never been, I don't get flu shots. I've never done any of that. So it's like, I wasn't about to change just because there was a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I want to show you one last video real quick to get your commentary on this. If you've experienced this at all, teaching yoga and that sort of thing, kind of relates to the cancel thing, but almost coming from the other side. Let's take a look at it.
Roots and vines, and bottom line is that if the root is pagan, then the fruit is not holy. And the Bible talks a lot about roots and vines, and bottom line is that if the root is pagan, then the fruit is not holy. And the root of yoga is entirely saturated in paganism. The purpose of yoga was to yoke with, that's what the word yoga means, was to yoke with these deities. When you get yourself into these positions, the Bible tells us that our heart is deceitful. It doesn't matter what your intention is. Unfortunately, that's just not how it works. You are creating basically an antenna with your body to just channel these ancient gods and goddesses, which of course we know are demons. It's basically like Ouija twister when you're doing yoga. You are just invoking the demonic. You just can't create your own practice of it. The word is explicit when it comes to divination. It's an abomination to the Lord. He commands us not to practice divination, and yoga by definition and by design is a physical divination practice. And we just have absolutely no business doing that. It's not just stretching. The Bible.
So that video has 800,000 views on it and 57,000 likes, which is very low. But I'm interested to hear what you think of stuff like that. Like, have you seen anything like that? Because it's a big market on YouTube. It's millions of hits. It's like they're really, and I'm talking about specifically.
What's a big market on YouTube?
Anti-yoga.
Oh, anti-yoga. Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually Christians. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone else.
Yeah.
But then I've seen a lot of people even fight back against it. There's a lot of like pro yoga Christians that are like, no, we're allowed to do it. We do it at our church. Like there's people who fight back against it. And then there's a big talk of that. And I remember when I was a kid, like people would come to convert me at home. Like I'd be home alone and someone would try to convert me, like Jehovah's Witnesses sometimes just like a cult, like a nearby cult. And, I remember for years, I talked to these two. They would just come over. My parents just left me home alone a lot. So these people would come over and I let them in the house. It's like the 80s, like nobody's watching, nobody, whatever. So they'd come in, I'd talk to them for an hour or two and I'd be like, yeah, this Jesus. For a while, I was like, what the hell are my parents doing? We have to get behind Jesus or we're going to be, there's this sense of like, you're going to go to hell. They even showed pictures of like, there's going to be fire and brimstone. And if you're not on board, you're going to die. And, you're in the wrong team, that sort of thing. And for years they came and I remember one time my uncle, they come over and he's very pro-Hindu, very, proud of it. So he's listening and the whole time he's listening, he's like, oh yeah, that's good. I love Jesus. That's great. What about Hare Krishna? And the guys would be like, no, they would cover their ears. Like, we're not allowed to hear that. We can't listen to it. They're like, no. We can't listen to Hare Krishna. We can only, and that always offended my uncle too. He was like, these guys, I listened to you for an hour. And you can't hear one story. Like, you would listen for like an hour just to get that ammo of like, I listen to you. Now you have to give me an hour. And we would get very upset about it. But what was it like back then, especially because your parents?
Well, you bring up a really good point, I think, and just in that video. And then what you were just saying, I think that, I would question like, well, why are you so weak in your faith? If you're so weak in your faith that you can't, I don't know, do some yoga postures, like just physical movements and deep breathing because you're, like fearful that you're going to open up to a world of demons. Well, if you're actually grounded in your faith, you nothing will sway you. I think, the one thing about what that girl was saying is I think there's some truth in there in that. And it was always a thing with me. That's why, I took out, like she was the little video right in there. She's showing, worshiping deities and being, like a hedonist and, all that stuff.
Are great.
I think that is the dark side. Like you can get carried down into these dark worlds in a sense, but that's where you open up to these dark gurus too.
Yeah.
Yoga can be a portal for good or for evil. Like, I don't totally disagree with what she's saying. And I think, and I know that was something when I would lead my yoga trainings or different things, and I'd introduce people to yoga practice and they would be lit up by it. And then I would see them years later and they went down that kind of whole fringe yoga, crystals, chakras, down that, worshiping deities, whatever. I'm like, oh man, was I like, is that my fault? Like that, because I was always teaching something way more practical and like be responsible for your life, be awake, like have your eyes open so that you think for yourself, be yourself first, and I think, but then on the flip side, I've had a lot of people come to my trainings and programs that came from that kind of like, whatever you want to call it, new agey or that whole like yoga scene and gurus who come and they're like, they kind of have a wake up call and they're like, wait, I can do these health practices and I don't need all those other belief systems or, the whole, I don't know, new age, whatever that is, their kind of bubble of like living in some kind of, I don't know, superstition, what all those things are, that kind of bursts and people just wake up and say, oh, I can live a practical life and I can use these practices and they're practical. The other thing with that girl, I've seen her before and I know she's anti-yoga. I've seen her.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I mean, to me, the other side of it is, she also, I guess she comes from a yoga background or she was a yoga teacher and then she came to Jesus or Christianity, what have you. But she also sounds like a Bible thumper to me. So it's almost like, it's like going from one belief system, yoga on that fringe over to another one. And
There
it's
is something
like,
about the polarization. Like there's almost
yeah,
like you get pulled
there's
in.
people swing, and it's like, no, well, if you're living by your faith, really, it's like you can be anywhere with anyone. You could bend forward or bend backward, or do, like stand on your head, and it doesn't mean you're opening up to some demonic world or something. But I think if you don't really know who you are, and you're not really, if you're more just connected to the words like of the Bible or something, you take it literally, it's more of an intellectual construct versus one that's like lived in your experience. Like, because I'm I say I'm Christian, but I'm really not even that. I'm more like, I love Jesus, but more Jesus, the way he lived and taught, like he was practical. He was out there with the people. Christianity came like hundreds of years later. Like when Jesus was alive, there wasn't even Christianity. And he was like, he even said the letter killeth. Like, don't believe into just all the words in the Bible. Because when he was around, people were the Old Testament, and they were like all just caught up in the words of and he's like, no, the letter killeth. It killeth the spirit or something. I'm like, I like that. Right.
Yeah,
but then
the intellectual side kills it's like poetry. And then you're trying to explain. It's like someone is trying to explain the joke. It's like you're supposed to just take it in and feel it emotionally, viscerally, and like live loving, and people turn it into like, now, I mean, in America, I feel like now Jesus is like an oil tycoon. That's the character.
It's been turned into it. Completely. I always think that if Jesus were to come back, the Christians would be the first ones to kill him. Because he'd be like this heretic or this like, like
They're like, he's anti-military. They used to be peaceful. They used to die for peace. And now, I mean, I feel like the people are going to war over like, in the name of in his name, people are going to war and fighting and stuff like that.
Yeah. And the powers that be are just getting rich. Just like, right. And all of that. So,
it's interesting.
No, I think, I've run into that over the years, like the Christians. I remember going to the South and doing workshops and being like picketing, like they'd be picketing out in front of signs. Yeah. I've had some of that.
That's hilarious. When you get,
I remember going to Africa. What's that?
When you get picketers, it's like, you're coming up in the game.
Yeah. Right. It's pretty good. Like, okay.
You're like, you must be stopped. It's like, oh man, I'm getting rich. I'm going to get rich.
No, there's something in the Bible. I wrote in one of my books, a quote that is like, he who striveth for mastery is temperate in all his ways. So it's like, being temperate to me is like, you don't dive head in, you don't become a fanatic of any one thing, but you're like, if you're striving for mastery, you're temperate. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Jesus could stand on his head and he wouldn't have a concern that he's going to hell or, I don't know, opening up to demons. So like you stand on your head, you could fold forward, bend backward. I mean, you go to the gym, but I think it's the intent. What she's talking about maybe is that path that it can take people into, I've seen it, like takes them into weird, new agey, weird stuff and you don't recognize that person. Like they used to be kind of bright person, bright eyed and then you see it after and they've been turned out, kind of like we're talking about LA turns out people. I mean, yoga can do that, but I actually don't think it's the yoga. I think it's all the trappings that get put on.
100%. It's
just the physical practice.
The secret goes hand in hand. A lot of them are into it like that. And then the psychedelics, I'm a little worried about. Like, I don't know how you feel about that. I remember I went to a meditation retreat thing, not a retreat, it was like an online retreat during COVID. And this guy, Steve Bodian, was there. He's like a Zen master, great meditation teacher. And I was telling him, like, I did a couple of these journeys and like,
you did it. You did some?
Yeah, I've done some journeys. I have a Babaji here, just a white guy named Josh. And he does like these incredible Hindu, but it's on mushrooms. So you do mushrooms and you go and you're like, you're with God. I mean, while you're doing it. Yeah. And I remember telling Stephen Bodian about it. And he just goes, I was like, I'm having a hard time quitting weed now. And like, it's, but when I do it, it's like, makes me want to do yoga, makes me want to do meditation. And then if I don't do it, it's like, I don't feel like doing anything, but I'm telling him and he's just like, yeah, you did your journeys. You did your little thing. Just stop it. Just enough of that. Do meditation, do it quietly, do it with nothing. See how you are just on your own and you don't have to take this thing, but you never got into any of that ayahuasca, any mushrooms, nothing.
No, I haven't done any. I don't like things like I can't smoke weed. I get just paranoid, or it's more not paranoid. It's more like self-conscious, and I can't. Like I just don't like it. I think in any of those kind of drugs and things, to me, I don't like things that I disassociate from myself. You know, and you hear people come back from these ayahuasca journeys and stuff, and they talk about how profound it was for them. And then I watch them, these people that I know, friends, what have you, and I kind of watch them and see, well, have they really changed?
Yeah.
And like
That's
the
the
way they
trap.
live, and they'll talk about it like they have, but when you kind of look at how they live, it really not a lot's changed. And some of them, I know a couple friends who've done it, and they're not quite the same. Like I look in their eyes, and it's like, wait, dude, where are you? Like you're not. Where'd you go? Like they kind of aren't there, but then they have this whole, they speak about it that, you know, the medicine, plant medicine, whatever, transformed their experience. And look, I don't know. It's not for me. Going through high school, I was pretty abusive with alcohol, pot, some LSD. I did mushrooms a few times. I never really liked it.
Right.
But it was like part of the surfer crowd at Ocean Beach in San Francisco. And so all the, you know, we're all like in high school, junior high, even it started. And it was like, I did enough of it then. And I know that was more just, you know, young and stupid and exploring. So it's probably different than going into an intentional spiritual journey.
Yeah.
But I don't, yeah, I kind of had enough life experience with that. Even I'm like, it's not for me. It doesn't interest me. I want to figure out who I am and how can I like live my life with what I've been given.
Yeah.
I think everyone nowadays is looking for some kind of hack, some kind of shortcut.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't know that that's even a new thing, but
these instant changes. Well,
yeah,
it is helping people quit smoking cigarettes, the mushroom trips.
Yeah.
So
but there are other ways to quit smoking too.
Yeah. You can just quit smoking, I guess.
Yeah. You could get on a serious physical training, you know, routine and change your attitude, change your life, do some, you know, real like work on yourself, self-development work, and you could quit smoking. With that. But if mushrooms are going to do it, I mean, if I like mushrooms, or I'm like, well, I'm going to go do mushrooms so I can quit smoking. But I mean, there are other ways. Yeah. I don't know. I guess to each his own, but it's not my path.
So where's the line for you then? I can see a couple of specific things that are above past the line. Like too much woo-woo stuff, like the manifestation, law of attraction, this kind of psychedelics and that sort of thing. How do you feel about breath work though? Breath work feels like it's a little closer to the line. It's clean. Mm-hmm. It's like releasing. They have these videos that I find they do work, where they're like, you release DMT or whatever. I've had some incredible, profound experiences. And even there's a guy who wrote a book about it, Michael Pollan. He wrote a book about psychedelics. It's called How to Change Your Mind. He did everything in the Netflix documentary that they made of that book. He's in it too. They have an episode about each of the drugs. They have ayahuasca, mushroom, weed, something else, LSD, whatever, all five different things, ketamine, maybe 5 episodes, 5 drugs. He does all of them. In the end though, he says the most profound experience was breath work. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, and he doesn't do any of the drugs. Is it? Yeah. I mean, and I guess it probably, to me anyhow, I'd look at like, well, what defines most profound experience? Is it just an experience, like another kind of high, or is it an experience, that carries out into your whole life, like that really alters something? But here's what I think. I think that a lot of people that I've seen that do these kind of alternatives, they still haven't figured out how to live their lives like true, like, you know, getting their integrity in place, their, you know, how they're showing up for their life, living, you know, having morals, not lying, living by truth, not cheating, not doing what you know, like living by a false front, like a pretense, you know, like different masks for different people. Because I don't think any drug or any breathing exercise is necessarily going to confront that and really handle that. It's not like all these masks are just going to drop. Now, they might drop in your experience, so you have this mind blow
It's like, wow, I just got an experience of myself without all these masks on. I think that happens for people. So maybe it gives them a point of reference of like, oh, but then you still have to go deal with all your people pleasing, and you're putting on different masks for different, you go back into your family with your family at Thanksgiving, or you go to your work environment, or you go hang out with your buddies at the bar, whatever you do. I mean, suddenly you're not just free. You still have like these things that you haven't really
dealt with,
located and acknowledged and cleaned up.
Okay. So this is
something like that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It makes sense. So tell me this, what do you think of shadow work? Breath work sounds like, you know, it could be a thing. Shadow work seems like it's directly dealing with that stuff. It's like,
what is shadow work?
It's basically like, it's very new age. It comes from, I think, Carl Jung. He basically says that we all have a shadow, you know, and when we're talking about these people who cancel other people, it's like what he would say about that is that they have a shadow that they're denying in themselves.
Yeah.
That's maybe that is more of like an honest, more aggressive side of themselves. And they're shutting that down consciously. So unconsciously, they're being more aggressive. Like it's because they're holding that part of their shadow down and not integrating into their personality. Then now they're overly like, you're not allowed to teach yoga. This is white, whatever it is, like mean bullying. I don't think they see themselves as mean bullying people. They see, and what Carl Jung, I think, even says is that they see themselves as like, I care enough to do something, and I'm going to fight.
Higher, more, yeah, they're morally superior.
They become morally superior.
Yeah, and
it's because they're hiding this part of their shadow. So the shadow work, I'd say, is like, now some people say that all meditation, all yoga, physical yoga practice, breath work, it's all shadow work. But specifically, shadow work, I'd say, is like finding these blocks you have, and then kind of like meditating on them, sitting with them. I feel like you did some of it in the class that we did. There's a little bit of that. Like, what are the points where you're faking? What are the points where you're not being totally honest with yourself? And then just the inquiry into that. Like inquiry, I'd say, is the most closest thing to shadow work. So I guess you do it a little bit.
Well, yeah, I can't speak to shadow work because I don't know exactly what that is, but I've heard of it. So I'm like, but I don't really know it in depth. But I know that like what I would focus on in inquiry is truth. Mm-hmm. So if I'm being again wearing different masks for different people, and but really like, okay, I wear one mask with, I don't know, maybe my wife, let's say, if I had a wife, but let's say just as an example, and I'm saying, oh, I'm fine, everything's fine, but really it's not. And I'm kind of putting up this facade, and I'm staying busy, and I'm avoiding, and I'm isolating, and there's a whole other world going on, and I'm in a relationship with this person, and it's an important relationship, but I'm not being true there. So to me, the inquiry is just like self-awareness for me to see, well, wait, I'm pretending, like I'm faking, like I'm being fraudulent here, or being, not real. I'm being inauthentic here. And it's like, just to tell the truth about that, even just to myself. And, the saying, know the truth and the truth will make you free. But I think it's just that kind of inquiry work where it's more looking at the truth of things. Like I could, like in our training, we go through, like, if you're living from complaints all the time, or you've got certain running complaints with people, maybe it's your boss or an employee or, a family member, and you've got these running complaints about them. And maybe you're going complaining behind their back to other people. And you've got you've got judgment and resentment in the background. Well, that's kind of hell to live in. And so it's just automatic for us. It's like some default. We just go be that way. But then when you kind of like shine light on it and you just tell the truth about it, it has a way of, it brings it into view. So now you can see it. You go like, is this really how I want to operate in my life? Like, no, I say I want real, deep, committed, intimate connection with people, but yet I'm like undermining that by like always having these judgments and complaints that I don't let go of. Like I keep these around with certain people, and it's poisoning me, or it just keeps me stuck in a place I don't want to be, in myself and in these relationships. And the truth has a way of just opening up the energy, and you tell the truth on yourself, so to speak. And then maybe you can go tell the truth. Hey, look, I've been not real. I haven't been telling you the truth. I haven't been honest with you. And you open up a conversation and it can close a gap. That's kind of the kind of inquiry work I like. So it's more superficial on one level, but it's also more practical and real. It's like dealing with just how you're living your everyday life.
Yeah.
Versus the shadow work is more probably going in and examining all your shadows and those things in the background, when like Jungian, you said, right? Stuff like that.
It's close. It's almost close. It's just, it might just be dressed up with more of that law of attraction, like magic to it. It's like even the name, is like, oh, you're doing shadow work. Like it's like so mysterious and like
magical thinking. Yeah.
Magical thinking.
Yeah.
So then where's the line for you on magical thinking? Because I do feel like, do you think we're in a non-dual universe? Do you think that God is us? Like there's a quote in the Sufi poetry. This is La ilaha illallah. Isness itself is God. So like we are God, and then we're all like almost like there's different trees and people on Earth, and then Earth is like one person, and then we're all characters on it, and then we're like another Earth or like another universe inside of us. There's like billions of citizens. Do you believe in any of that, or is that all just like
that's above my pay grade?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I am. Well, to me, what I hear, I can't really speak to what you're speaking to, but I can say it sounds conceptual to me, and nothing wrong with that. But I know that for me, I want to look at, how am I interacting with my son? Or how am I interacting with my mom? Or, do I have love in my heart, or do I have like hidden, like upset or judgment or and then I don't know where that leaves me in the universe. And like what you're saying, am I one with all the everything? I think everything. I mean, I'll say this about, I do think, and I've had this experience of being connected to everything in life, everything, and in a sense, I don't know if it's everyone or just the humanity at large.
Yeah.
Like I've had that experience of being interconnected with everything, and everyone in a sense, but not like, I don't have a theory about it. Does that make sense?
Wow. So you're not curious? You don't want to get into that? It's almost like that's the danger of like, because you can get lost in it. But ultimately, what those people, when they're good, like Course in Miracles, it's ultimately saying to do what you're doing. What you're saying, like, do I have genuine love in this moment with my son? Ultimately, that's where they're all trying to get you. Course in Miracles, the Law of One, all these new age, I don't know if you're familiar with like channeled works. They're all channeled by these like they're university professors, but they channel it in from like higher dimensional beings.
I don't buy. I mean, I grew up again in San Francisco, and so I saw a lot of channelers. And my mom would take me to Ramtha and these different. They sit up there and they're channeling a 5 or 25,000-year-old Chinese prophet. And exactly, and the language and their bodies contorting, all that. And
have you seen Bashar?
Huh?
Bashar? He's
no,
huge.
I don't know that.
But when you talk to him, he's got such a character, because like you talk to him, like, he's like, just like a nerd guy. He's like, yeah, okay, I can do some channeling today. Let me see if I can contact and
they start twitching. Exactly, right. It's like that. I don't know him, but I know I've been around plenty of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. My bullshit meter goes up on that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think that those people maybe are tapping into something and they're unconscious, or that showman comes out, and I don't know the why or the how of all of that, but something. And if they are doing that, I wouldn't want to follow that creature. Like, I don't know where that's coming from. What's that?
They ultimately, though, are saying to do what you're saying, which is, am I present in the moment with this thing in front of me? Am I loving with my family, my business relationship when I contact them? Like, that's where they try to get you.
Yeah, but you don't. And if you look, like you or any of us don't need those people to tell us that. Like, that's already, I think, in our hearts. You know, if you listen to the teacher within, you know, and you follow the calling of your own conscience and the higher intuition, your inner, you kind of already know that, well, love is the way to go. Sometimes we just need to be reminded. So that's fair, right?
Yeah.
But then that's where, okay, I can sit with and listen to other different teachers and stuff, but I don't have to drink the whole, you know, thing in. I can, you know, see, okay, oh yeah, they remind me of love. Okay, but I'm not going to start following you, you know, and put you up on a pedestal and buy your whole package and something. I think we all have it within us, but I think that knowledge, if you look in the Bible, or you look in the Quran or Lao Tzu, or you find wisdom that, I mean, it's really everywhere. I think though, it's that weird personality thing, the channeling, that people get caught up in personality, or they get caught up in some, I don't know, frequency, and they get hooked in, and then they lose themselves. Now they're not listening to them. What's in here are in themselves, but they're listening for some wisdom out there. And I think it's a kind of naivete that eventually collapses into cynicism.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm getting there myself. I mean, I stopped drinking a month ago. My uncle passed away like a month ago.
Close to him?
Yeah, it's my mom's brother. We're very close, and like I lived with him for a bit. And he drank himself out. And like even when he was drinking too much, when he first went to the hospital, I remember my aunt and my mom took a call from the hospital, and they're telling them all the stuff in English. And my mom and my aunt they're like, yeah, great, got it, whatever. 5 minutes of the conversation. And then they start saying like, okay, and we have to talk about his drinking because he has been drinking too much. And my mom and my aunt both go, what? I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what she's saying. Like I had to take the call after that because they just couldn't admit that the man's drinking, you know, like he had a bottle, he'd hide a bottle and just go take 2 swigs. Like in the morning, like people be over at his house, he'd just go in the back, take 2 swigs, come back out, hang out, whatever. My cousin kind of was going through the same thing. So I had one last drink the day after with my cousin, who's just drinking every day. Like he doesn't even want to. And if you tell him to, he'll start yelling. Like he's into it. So I was like, I got to stop drinking, whatever. So it's been a month of that, a month of like no weed. And I'm just like, it's miserable. I mean, it's what the alcohol, I don't even care, but the weed, the alcohol now I don't care. I was drinking it too much before, but the weed, it is like, and now I'm just doubting everything. It's like, what am I doing?
Maybe I missed it, but you stopped smoking pot too?
Yeah.
And alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that all feel without all that?
It's almost exactly the same. That's the sad thing. It's like half the time I'm like, I'm doing great. I don't need anything. The sun is shining. I'm driving by the liquor store and I'm like, look at them. I'm finished with this. But then sometimes I'm like, well, I'm miserable. Like I'm still going through the same up and down. And I just started listening to Eckhart Tolle again and just talking about how just get present, you know, like it's all about presence and whatever, but I think it's just the chemicals are working their way through. And you know, so there's a little bit of that.
And maybe that doesn't all go away completely, right? Some of that high and low. I kind of sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, for no reason, it's not even thoughts, but it's more in the background, like, oh, something's wrong. You know, it's like something shouldn't be, and I don't even know what it is. It's not any one certain thing. It's like just something's wrong, something's missing. And then I'm like, okay, I need to alter something. So I'll go sit and just meditate and just get still, get present. I'll go then and I'll physically do some training, whether that's hiking or I'll go to a CrossFit or I'll sometimes do yoga practice. I'll do, but something to physically kind of really for me, it's like a physical presence thing and then just getting my energy moving. But I'll tell you, the thing that alters me really is meditation. When I just don't try to do anything in meditation, I'm not trying to achieve anything. I just want to get I like stop, like drop into my body, get present to my heart beating, feet on the floor, wake up to the physical environment. I do a little prayer, just like hand things over to to God, to create it. Like I'm just handing it off. Something shifts in me typically when I do that. Like something like that thing that was in the background, like something's wrong. It's just like, it's like gone. I'm like, whoa, like I have that power to disappear that or shift out of that universe, that alternate universe.
Yeah.
And then let things just kind of roll off me. And I think that there's something about, getting more clear in ourselves, like what you're talking about, stopping drinking, stopping smoking, and just getting clear and get present to your own energy. And then you'll start seeing like where you're being reactive and then to something, then you get reactive, you get a little upset or stirred up, and then you want to drink to calm that down or take a puff to calm it down, or you have an upset with someone where you get into some little tiff. And then you want to like, that upset energy, you want to like take a smoke or a drink but you could do that in natural ways and actually discover something about yourself. I think when you're clear.
Yeah.
I know that's how it is for me. Yeah.
Definitely.
And sometimes it's nice to just have a drink, and nothing about it and just enjoy, with friends or whatever, have a beer. Or I don't like doing that a lot, but it's doesn't have to be a bad thing, but I'm also not using it to deal with my life. I think that's the difference maybe.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's just like, it's just this, because everyone says online, they're like, it's hard. Like it's hard, and it's gonna make you, it's gonna tell you that you need to smoke or whatever.
Wait, what's hard?
Just quitting stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because your body's just used to it. It's like there is a withdrawal process to it, I guess. So yeah. No, I'm waiting to break through that side.
Yeah. You're still going through that one.
Yeah. It's been a month. A week.
Do you sweat?
No.
All those things out of your system. Oh, well, no, I mean, go in a sauna or do heated, practice or like a workout that you sweat it out, like getting just that old homeostasis, the old metabolic leftovers out of your system too. There's something about that, or even some cleansing.
I work out pretty hard, but I did want to say, and of course yoga, but I did want to ask you, what about cold showers? You doing cold showers? Cold therapy? No.
Yeah, I do. I have a cold plunge. I had a ice chest freezer, those like chest freezers. I had one in my garage.
Nice.
And I just got on YouTube and learned how to like turn that into a cold bath. So I just, emptied the thing out and then caulked waterproofed it, all the inside, fill it up with cold water. And it's about, I did a cold plunge this morning. It was 41 degrees. And I do that for like 5 minutes. And man, I do that. Yeah. I cold plunge almost every day. I'll get in there and just
interesting.
4 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a great brain reset. Yeah.
You have a powerful line. You go right up to the edge and then you don't take any woo-woo, because the ice cold bath, that's something that people have been telling me like, oh yeah, that's going to fix your life. You got ice bath it. And then what's that doing? But it's like, it's impressive that you do that too, though. It's like you're doing all the hard stuff and then you're like lying on all the woo-woo drugs, no woo-woo.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I like being clear and then having my energy to, be productive in my life, create things in life, create things that are a contribution to others. Because when I know I'm contributing to others, I contribute to myself. Just even like this kind of conversation we're having right here, right? Just has us do some bigger thinking, and then we've got people listening in and sparks their thinking and new ways. And I think that to me, that's what life is about. It's fulfilling.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, super fun. Let's do it again.
Anne Marie asks wants me to ask you if you've ever seen a UFO or UAP. I feel like there's just no way. I mean, if listening to this conversation.
I've seen things in the sky that I've thought were maybe UFOs, but I don't know. So yeah.
Well, no weed doesn't. The no weed and no drinking doesn't help that. You might have seen.
Yeah, no mushrooms doesn't help that, right?
No mushrooms doesn't help that. Doesn't help the UFO.
No, UFOs. Like I don't believe in them, and I don't disbelieve. Like
Yeah,
I'm
a lot
open
of
to
proof coming in
show me
now.
the evidence. Yeah. Or if
Yeah.
I saw one, I was like, okay, that I know I saw something that was a UFO. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know that like I was in Mexico about a year ago, and it was nighttime and just stars out, a clear star. We were at the beach with some friends, and all of a sudden we saw this thing like a caterpillar just going up through the sky, and it just disappeared up into the clouds. And we looked at each other like, whoa, what was that? Like that was an unidentified, like that was nothing I've ever seen. And my friends we're there, a couple Mexican people that didn't even speak English, but you could see the shock in their eyes. And then, but a few weeks go by, I'm researching it online. Like, what the heck? Did any other, and other people had seen it in that area of Mexico I was in. Other people had seen that. And then come to learn it was one of those Starlink, Elon Musk's things that does, I forget the term for them, but they're these they have to do with these satellites that of a Starlink system, and they actually are like caterpillars that move through the sky and then they disappear up into the ether. And it's and then I saw images of okay, that's what that was. Wasn't a UFO.
Wow. So
it was an Elon Musk thing.
I was thinking you saw a physical caterpillar like here, and it was like floating up, and I was like, I think it's just on a spider's web, and it got pulled up. But you're talking about up in the sky.
No. This is like up in the sky.
Yeah.
And it was, long. It was like across the whole sky. And it just had like the shape and form of a caterpillar. It was moving like a caterpillar, kind of wiggling, but it was white light, and it was huge up in the sky, and it was moving through the sky so quickly. And then it just evaporated. It disappeared.
And this is part of Elon Musk's.
And it's part of Elon Musk's. One of his satellites or whatever they're called. But I thought that was a real legit UFO experience. And then, but I was still wanting more information the more I researched it. And then I sent it to some of my friends, and then they found other, I don't know, Google searches, stuff of that same other people all over the place. And then it was kind of, this is like that Starlink thing. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming. I would love to do your podcast.
I'd love to have you on my YouTube channel too.
Yeah.
Love to do it.
Yeah, Baron Baptiste podcast. Check out. You can check out his work there, and then also there's a link in the description to your website. Tell us one more.
Just baronbaptiste.com.
Yeah, there's a link to that in the comments I put in when we scheduled it. So it's there. Check it out. Go to a real spiritual teacher. We have a lot of people who get scammed, and it's impossible to talk them out of it. It's hard to talk.
And these social media influencers, man, you just you want to have your bullshit meter up, right?
Yeah.
Trust yourself.
This has been a great conversation for me, because I think I have had a bit of a lacking my bullshit meter for a couple of years, and it's like I need to get that back.
Yeah, you have it. Yeah, you have it
on the mat.
Yeah, you have it. You probably wouldn't be in this conversation if you didn't have it, right?
For sure, man.
You'd be in some cult somewhere, or I don't know, doing something somewhere.
No, I'm right there. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm into it, and then but I never join anything, so that's good. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Have a good one. Thanks you all for watching, listening. Yeah, we'll do it again. Take care.
Yeah. Peace. All right. Thanks, everyone. P. Morton is here. Thanks for coming in, leaving some comments. Appreciate it. Anne Marie, Nachama Gluck. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for coming in. Who else do we have here? Gorham Vatch. Wow, I haven't seen Gorham Vatch in a while. Chipco, Rewind Cat. Rewind Cat, thanks for sending those graphics. Those look fantastic. And message me on Instagram at Fade to Brown. And support Baron Baptiste. He's got it's an incredible class, and it is grounded in reality, unlike most of these get rich quick and spiritual teachers. And that was a great reminder that I needed to, and hopefully helpful for all of us. And of course, check out the book, New York Times bestseller, Journey into Power by Baron Baptiste. Thanks for coming, everyone. Have a good day. Bofa.